We shall be doing utmost effort to keep them up to date in the subject. Today I have with us Mr. S.P. Rao, who is a faculty in indirect taxes. Of course, he plans to cover Cenvat Credit. We have also requested him to give certain tips for preparing the examination. The friends, I can only add and state one thing. The recent declaration of results on January 17th did shock all of us. In fact, somewhere it also leaves a pain in us that the result has been pretty poor. I'm sure our students work very hard for the examination. They undergo a lot of preparation, but somehow they are not able to make a mark. As a former director of studies, being with the board of studies, in fact, we have been always telling our students that they should work for all the papers in a group. In fact, when I meet so many students, I find that most of the time they might have cleared all the 4 papers, but they are not able to make the full aggregate. Somehow they claim that they have done very well in one paper, but in some other paper they only score about 32-35 marks. I'm sure while you will also appreciate that you have to actually put in an equitable effort in revising and reviewing the course. In fact, today, if you look at the situation, I think about 90 days are left for the May 16 examination. Friends, it's not an easy task. I know that you have been working hard for all these years. My actually pain is for the repeaters, those who could not qualify. In these 90 days, first of all, they have to take a call whether they are writing one group or whether they are writing both the groups. Accordingly, they have to schedule their preparation. Friends, I can only assure you that we at CALS are committed to provide best of the support to all our students, both in specific as well as in general. As a president and dean at the CALS, I'm sure that we are ready to extend further support to each one of our students, or even somebody approaches us, because what we find that they are not able to make good presentation in the final examination. I'm sure we are available to them, and in fact, since Mr. Rao is with us, I will take the liberty that if somebody wants to write a midterm assessment paper and say that this paper should be evaluated by us, we are prepared to go a step forward and provide even those services to you. But rest assured, I'm sure that in these 90 days, you have to work out a schedule. You have to work out how you're going to appear in May 16 actually. In fact, I have been telling all over again that please do not repeat the same mistakes which you did for November 15. Those who are going to write for the first time, their notes should be adequate enough that they should be able to actually sit in the examination and write pretty well. We at CALS are committed in a way. In fact, the way we have actually prepared our course, which is on the video lectures, in fact, please do not hesitate to opt for our course. It is the course which has been done exactly as per the ICI study material. That is how, looking at the pressure on, particularly on CA final students, we have actually tried to compress the course, and so that in the minimum time, they should be able to do the maximum. I'm sure that you will find the today's talk beneficial. We have arranged all webinars right in the month of February so that our students can prepare well in time. I'm sure that we shall be back with the second series of webinars towards the last week of March and first week of April as well. Thank you very much, friends. And in fact, I shall be very happy in case you raise your questions from time to time. Be frank, please do not hesitate. It's better to ask a question than remain confused about the particular situation. I'm sure that you will take it forward, and I wish you all the best for May 16 examination. Now, may I request Mr. S.P. Rao to begin his talk on this subject. Thank you. Mr. Rao, please.
Thank you very much, sir. So, friends, thank you very much Sir, you have rightly given a wake-up call to all our student friends. So friends, at final level, it is a challenge and there should be a proper strategy to combat it. Since we often come across students who say that we got 40s, 44, 45, 43 like that. And finally they say in aggregate they have an issue. There is a remedy for that. So sir was rightly telling you. So there are ways and means of improving this. Means if you are able to improve your performance uh, to the extent of scoring a few more marks, just like 3-4 marks extra, you have passed it. The difference between passing and failing is just a threadbare distance. So what I suggest at the outset before I start the topic is, particularly repeaters, you have to improve your presentation. It is not your language, actually your understanding. So your answer sheet should reflect that you not only know the subject, you understand it. There's a lot of difference between knowing and understanding. So the examiner will be convinced only when you present things in such a way that you not only know the subject, you also understand it. So number one, your understanding of the subject, not simply knowledge. And for understanding, the front end of understanding is your presentation, what you write and how you write. So what you write, very important, but at the same time, how you write is equally important. If you take care of these two things, just like these are two sides of a coin, what you write and how you write. You please check up. And we are here also to help you. Say maybe you can write, you can attempt some paper. We also provide test papers. No? So you attempt that paper in pure examination conditions in 3 hours time, and you send us the script and we will check up and we assess and we will tell you where you have to improve, where you are strong and where you are not strong. That way also we would like to help you. And today's session particularly is mainly to help you understand a very technical topic like Cenvat Credit Scheme, right? So some of you or many of you may have seen my video or may have read or studied somewhere on your own or heard somewhere. So the question is, what is there in Cenvat Credit Scheme? Of course, this Cenvat Credit Scheme right now is available to IPC students also because it is in their syllabus up to Rule 9. Main Cenvat Credit Scheme is up to Rule 9 only, and it is there for IPC students also. And for final students, everything is there A to Z, including case study. Okay. So, first of all, let me tell you that Cenvat Credit Scheme, all of you know, this is applicable to both manufacturers and service providers, right? But this is not applicable in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, that you know. As far as service matters are concerned, service aspect, this is not applicable to Jammu and Kashmir because service tax provisions are not applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. Otherwise, for manufacturer, the Cenvat Credit Scheme available. For example, a manufacturer in Jammu and Kashmir, he pays excise duty, he takes Cenvat Credit. But he pays service tax, he can't take Cenvat Credit. But he pays excise duty and capital goods, he can take credit and he can utilize. Similarly, a service provider in Jammu and Kashmir, because whatever output service he is providing, output service, he is not paying any service tax unless it happens to be outside as per POPSR. So he cannot take Cenvat Credit and because he is not going to, he cannot take Cenvat Credit and because he is not paying any service tax there. You try to understand the implications there as far as matters concerned with Jammu and Kashmir are concerned. For the rest of India, it is there. So what are the things that I am going to discuss? Rather, instead of discussing at length, what I would like to share with you is the intricate matters, intricacies, number one, and technical areas, number two, and number three, I would like to invite your queries. The more the queries, the better it would be for me to cover the topic. So I encourage you, rather I impress upon you, I would like to tell you that you please put your queries, as many queries as possible. Okay, so that I will come to know where you are. And from that particular location, I will lift you. So first thing in Cenvat Credit Scheme is a topic wise, if you look at it, this is simply, I am going to discuss the overview. See, Cenvat Credit Scheme is a beneficial set of scheme, and the benefit is available to manufacturers and service providers, right? And these two, both manufacturers of accessible goods and service providers of taxable services, they get the benefit of Cenvat Credit on inputs, duty paid on inputs on capital goods, and also service tax paid on input services. So on these three, these two will get duties and taxes paid on inputs, input services, and capital goods. Put together, that is called Cenvat Credit. What are the duties and taxes that are paid by these people? You find it under Rule 3, Sub Rule 1, Rule 3.1, which gives you the exhaustive list of duties and taxes under various acts on which you will get the credit. That is very important. And there is a list, of course, Cenvat said, etc., etc., etc. I would like to show also here. And at the same time, utilization of these, the credit portion that you are using to pay duties and taxes at the output level. Suppose you are a manufacturer, you have to pay excise duty on your final product. So you can use this credit as a set off. And suppose you are a service provider, you can use this as a set off. So on payment of service tax, for payment of service tax on output service, you can use this credit. For payment of excise duty on final product, you can use this Cenvat credit. So this, if you look at the scheme of Cenvat credit, Rule 3, Sub Rule 1 gives you the list of duties or taxes on which you will be getting the credit. Remember, that is an exhaustive list. Nothing else and nothing more is there. And number two, their utilization. So when do you get the credit? When do you get the Cenvat credit, and what are the conditions attached to taking of Cenvat credit, taking, or otherwise known as availing of Cenvat credit? You have to refer to Rule 4. So under Rule 4, they have given, say for example, Rule 4.1 to 4.6, 4.1 to 4.6. They deal with Cenvat credit, availment of Cenvat credit with regard to inputs and capital goods. And with regard to input services, you have to refer to Rule 4, Sub Rule 7. But let me also caution you here. This time in 2015 budget in particular, there is a lot of amendment. There are number of changes under Rule 4, significant changes under Rule 4. You have to necessarily go through, and you can also get the amendments part from our CALs. You send a mail, and you will be getting. We have got it ready. Latest amendments applicable for May 2016 examination. In that you will find not only Cenvat credit, everywhere, entire syllabus on service tax, on customs, excise, and so on. So Rule 4 gives you the idea as to when do you get, how much do you get, whether you get 50% or 100%, and on what conditions, on what terms and conditions you will be getting, and can you send goods to a job worker? If you send goods to a job worker, within how much time can you really retain and retain the Cenvat credit, and what is the time limit there? All these things you find under Rule 4. So Rule 4 finally gives you a picture of taking or availing Cenvat credit. So you have successfully availed the Cenvat credit under Rule 4. But utilization, where do you use? How do you use? How do you use? And main uses, there are 5 uses given under Rule 3.4. Manufacturer to pay on final product, service provider to pay on his output service, for repair reconditioning goods when they are sent back, and when the inputs are removed as such, when the capital goods are removed as such also. So these are there, and utilization is subject to again conditions. There are number of provisos under Rule 3.4. This is the scheme. Say you start with Rule 3.1, where you get the list of duties and taxes on which you are getting credit. So you have taken credit, and to take credit on the listed goods and the taxes and the duties, and there are certain conditions. So you have to go through Rule 4 to find out terms and conditions for availing Cenvat Credit. So you have successfully availed the Cenvat Credit on duties and taxes specified under Rule 3.1. And the next step is utilization. Rule 3.4 main thing, and the utilization is there under other rules also. Okay, so then you are following the terms and conditions with regard to limitations also. Under Rule 3.4, there are number of provisos. For example, service provider is not eligible to take Cenvat Credit on special CVD paid on imported goods. So he can't take, so he can't utilize it. Similarly, health cess, etc., that cannot be paid from any duty or tax except from health cess itself. Like that, limitations and conditions we have to, I will show anyway. I will show, we have plenty of time. And I invite your queries, more and more queries, more and more, the webinar would be fruitful. So taking credit and availing credit. This is the portion. And for when you look at Rule 3.4, first part A, that is subclass A, you find any duty paid on inputs, any duty can be utilized for payment of any duty or tax, something like that. Look at Rule 3.4, subclass A. So what does it mean? There is no condition of correlation, means input, there is no correlation to be followed, correlation principle to be followed between input and output. Input A, output A1. You need not use the credit of input A alone to pay the output on output tax on A1, because you can take the credit from any other input. So that principle is known as one-to-one correlation principle. That need not be followed. Only exception is northeast regions, etc., which are having the benefit of area-based exemption. For them, it is necessary to follow one-to-one correlation. Others need not. So there is no comparison. It is not necessary to apply the principle of one-to-one correlation while utilizing the Cenvat Credit of any input. But between input and output, it is not there. But what about duty? Duty versus duty, that is there. So very, very important and very technical area. This I would like to discuss exhaustively. That is going to be useful to you. But at the same time, wherever you feel like asking a query, you are most welcome to do that. But what about the legal provision, the provisions concerned particular relevant provisions? Rule 3.1 is the list of duties and taxes on which you get the credit. And Rule 3.7b, Rule 3, Clause B, subclause, Rules 3, Clause 7 and subclause B, Rule 3.7b, there is, they have given the principles to be observed, to be followed, to match, to have. That is also known as interchangeability of duties and taxes. Which duty can be set off against which duty or tax? So input level taxes, they are used for output level taxes. So which tax can be used for which tax? There is a principle. There are certain rules under Rule 3.7b that we have to follow. So right now, let me show the presentation first for the matching principle. Look at this. I think you are able to see it. Are you? It was written as Rule 3.7b, matching of duties. Rule 3.7b. Left side you see duties and taxes paid at input level, and right side duties and taxes payable at output level. So input level taxes means that is about the credit. Output level taxes means the duties to be payable. So to pay that, you utilize the duties and taxes at the left, given on the left side. See, first one you see, first one is Cenvat. That is the basic duty under Schedule 1 of Central Excise Tariff Act, you know that. And second one is Special Excise Duty under Schedule 2. Of course, nowadays it is exempt. And the third one is Additional Duty of Excise, Goods of Special Importance Act. It is on cigarettes and sugar that is being imposed, but by granting exemption. This is under exemption. The portion is added to the Cenvat portion itself. And the fourth one is CVD. That CVD is payable when you import goods. That is also known as the Additional Duty of Customs under Section 3(1). Of course, Section 3(3) also is possible. And special CVD, that is equivalent to sales tax at 4%, that is payable on imported goods wherever applicable. And these are also technically known as additional duties of customs under Section 3(1) and 3(5) respectively of Customs Tariff Act, right? On these two, you will be getting Cenvat credit. On CVD, you are getting Cenvat credit. Everybody gets. Everybody means manufacturer and service provider get. But on special CVD, only manufacturer will get the 200% at a time, even on capital goods. But service provider is not eligible to get. Logic is very simple. Say, manufacturer further resells after production, he will sell further and he will pay sales tax further. So for him, the sales tax portion is relevant. Credit is allowed. But the service provider, he is providing service, he is not paying any sales tax on his output. So that's the reason why this sales tax portion, even though he is paying, he is not eligible to take credit and he is not eligible to use automatically. Consequently. Okay. So on which he is getting the credit. And go for next slide also. Look at the fifth one, service tax. Service tax paid on taxable services. That is input level service. So then, I talk about first 5. And what about the remaining 6, 7, 8? Of course, 9 and 10 is no more. Of course, for a limited period, government is allowing the existing Cenvat credit on education cess and secondary and higher education cess. That can be, if at all any balance is remaining, that can be utilized for payment of Cenvat right now till it gets exhausted. After that, it's no more, because you know, right now under excise, the rate of duty on majority of the products is, that is called general rate of duty, 12.5%. That is inclusive of everything. And education cess and secondary higher education cess is not payable separately. Earlier it used to be 12% plus 0.36, 12.36. Now it is 12.5 all in all, everything. Even Swachh Bharat cess you don't have to pay on excise duty. Okay. So it is 12.5% all inclusive. Now education cess and secondary higher education cess, it is not payable. Hence, credit is not available. You are not paying and you are not getting any credit. Already paid and taken credit, you utilize. You can utilize that if you are a manufacturer to pay excise duty. That is basic duty of excise, that is called Cenvat. Okay. And look at the other one. So I entry item number 6, 7, 8. You see, item number 6 is additional duty of excise, that is textile and textile articles act. And another 7th one is additional duty of excise on tea and tea waste. Both are under exemption right now. And 8th one is additional duty under Section 85 of 2005, Finance Act 2005. And this is on pan masala and tobacco products. This is also popularly known as health cess. And 9th and 10th, no more, because you are not to pay, so you won't be getting any credit on 9th and 10th. Education, secondary education cess, I've already told you. And then number 11, NCCD. NCCD full form is National Calamity Contingent Duty. This is a surcharge on pan masala, tobacco products, local crude petroleum, mobile phones, and also automobiles. So these are 11 out of 11, 2 are no more, and altogether there are 9 duties and taxes. Look at the first 5. So very important, we'll go back. First 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and again 5. Fifth one, service tax. So we'll come back. So for them, there is a facility advantage that they are multi-purpose. How? These duties and taxes from 1 to 5, they can be used or utilized to pay any duty or tax at the output level. Any duty or tax. Suppose you are a manufacturer, you are paying some Cenvat, you can use it. You are paying some other duty, you can use. Or you are a service provider, you are paying service tax. Even service provider can use it to pay service tax on his output service. So these are multi-purpose. They can be used not only for their corresponding duties and taxes, but also for others. Say, for example, the Cenvat credit balance is there. Cenvat credit balance said, or this AD, additional duty of excise, or CVD, etc. These can be used for payment of any duty or tax on the right side. Suppose Cenvat balance can be used for payment of ADA, TTA if at all it is payable, or it can be used for payment of NCCD other than mobile. Like that, these 5 can be used for any duty or tax payable on the right side, but subject to certain limitations and conditions we will see. And if you look at the second one, remaining 4, what are they? ADA, TTA, ADA, TNTW, and health cess, and also NCCD. These, for them, you have to follow what is known as 1-to-1 correlation principle. This can be used only horizontally, horizontal application. Multiple applications not possible. For example, you have a balance, you have a health cess balance, credit balance, that can be used only to pay health cess on the output. Suppose you have NCCD balance. This NCCD balance can be used only to pay NCCD on the output. Suppose there is surplus that could not be utilized, carry forward. There is no time limit. You can carry it forward to any extent for any long time as you wish. Okay. So these 5, first 5 can be used for payment of any duty or tax at the output level, but remaining 4, they can be used only to pay their corresponding duties or taxes. Their corresponding duties and taxes. Got the point? And now, the first 5 have some limitations. What are the limitations? Say, for example, here you see, we'll go back. They can be used for all duties and taxes except health cess. Except health cess. So to pay health cess, these duties are not useful. For health cess, these are not useful. Number 1, NCCD on mobile. This cannot be used to pay NCCD on mobile. It can be used to pay NCCD on any other product, but not on mobile. And similarly, to pay clean energy cess. This cannot be used for clean energy cess. Okay. So that is the limitation. Then to pay health cess, what is available? If at all you have health cess credit balance, you can use it there. Otherwise, you have to pay in cash. And NCCD on mobile. So if you have to pay any duty, any NCCD on mobile, you have to check up whether any Cenvat credit balance on NCCD is available or not. If it is not available, then you have to pay in cash because these are not available. These are not useful. And then, what about this clean energy cess? Have you heard of this clean energy cess? Nowadays it is 100 rupees per ton. The clean energy cess is a separate cess. It is collected by Finance Ministry, no doubt. Excise Department will collect it, but the amount will be forwarded to, transferred to Environment Ministry. The amount will go to Environment Ministry, and this is imposed. This is being imposed on coal, coke, lignite, and peat. Coal, coke, lignite, and peat. Coal varieties. And the amount will be sent to Environment Ministry. That's why it has been put here that to pay clean energy cess, you cannot use any existing Cenvat credit. You have to pay in cash. So once you are paying in cash, paying that in cash, you have no option. And at the same time, whatever you pay in the name of clean energy cess, you are not getting any Cenvat credit because the amount entirely goes to Environment Ministry. So how can you utilize the Cenvat credit that belongs to Finance Ministry? So that is one issue. Clean energy cess you have to pay in cash only, always in cash, right? And NCCD and mobile, only from NCCD you can pay, otherwise you pay in cash. And health cess, you have to pay only from health cess, otherwise you pay in cash. These 5 are not useful there. They are not going to help you. They are not handy. And one more limitation is, for a service provider, he cannot take and utilize Cenvat credit on special CVD. So on special CVD, obviously, he is not eligible to take credit, so he can't use it. These are the limitations. Subject to these limitations, the first 5 can be used to pay any duty or tax except health cess, NCCD and mobile, clean energy cess. Of course, one more thing is their limitation. Goods under notification 1/2011 and 12/2012 because they are exempted goods. Obviously, eligibility is not there. So this is how we have to. On the remaining second one, next slide, see the remaining 4. What are the 4? ADA, TTA, ADA, TNTW, and NCCD. These and health cess. These 4 can be used only for their corresponding final level duties. Okay, and if they cannot be utilized, I have already told you they are only carried forward to use next time, anytime, because there is no time limit for utilization. For taking Cenvat credit, there is a time limit given under Rule 4.1 and 4.7, because on inputs and input services, you have to take Cenvat credit within 1 year. There is an amendment recently. Within 1 year from the date of invoice. If you did not take within 1 year, that will lapse. You can't take next. But on capital goods, there is no such limit. You can take Cenvat credit anytime. There is no time limit, no time bar that you have to see. Okay, look at this. Look at this. It gives you just a glimpse of idea about utilization. So for taking and matching interchangeability, we have seen, and now taking and utilizing of Cenvat credit given under Rule 3. So first thing, Rule 3.1, I have already discussed. Rule 3.1. It has something to tell you. Say Rule 3.1. What are the duties and taxes? Whatever be the duties and taxes. Okay. See, under Rule 3.1, duties, credit can be taken on. Credit can be taken on, say, duties and taxes paid on inputs, capital goods, and input services. That is the basic information. So paid on inputs, input capital goods, and input services. What is input, what is capital goods, and what is input services? It's a very, very, very important area, for everybody. Whoever is writing indirect taxes, even IPC students, because the definition of inputs is given under Rule 2K and 2A, definition of capital goods, and 2L, definition of input service. If you are not thorough with these definitions, there will be a lot of trouble. First of all, you have to master them. Maybe when you read the text or Bare Act, you will be terrified probably. But you have to do it anyway. And I expect some queries also. You can put queries on these three definitions because it's a confusing area for majority. Because in indirect taxes, problem is that we understand something and it happens to be something different because the concepts are indirect. Concepts are not direct under indirect taxes. Their concepts are indirect. That is the main issue. Okay. So here, duties and taxes paid on inputs, capital goods and input services. And here, utilization. Talk about utilization. That is Rule 3.4. So under Rule 3.4, you see, credit can be used for where you can use. Say, if you are a manufacturer to pay duty on final products. If you are a service provider to pay service tax on output service, not input service. You can't use it to pay on input service. Maybe you are paying under reverse charge. You are paying service tax or you are paying service tax under reverse charge. To pay that under reverse charge, you cannot use the existing Cenvat credit because you can use the Cenvat credit only to pay a service tax. You pay service tax on output service. Okay. Again, the duty on repaired, reconditioned goods, duty on capital goods removed as such, duty on inputs removed as such or after some process which doesn't amount to manufacture. These are the various uses, utilization. And if you look at the next one, look at the next slide, you will get the conditions, limitations also. Utilization, very important. The utilization is subject to conditions, restrictions and also limitations. What are they? First thing is utilization is subject to matching. Okay, utilization is subject to matching. So what type of matching? You see, this matching, we have seen already under Rule 37B, which duty can be utilized against which duty or tax. We have seen that, very important. And next, advance utilization not allowed. This language you have to understand. What do you mean by advance utilization? All the credit, outstanding credit, say for example, you have to pay duty for January, even a service tax. For January, suppose you are liable to pay by February 6, right? The credit outstanding, all the credit up to January 31st, you can utilize to make the payment on 6th February. But whatever credit you earned in the month of February, that cannot be utilized because to clear the liability of January month, you cannot take, you cannot utilize, you can take, but you cannot utilize the credit earned in the month of February. The earning of credit is in February, but the liability that you are clearing is for the month of January. How is it possible? So all the credit up to 31st January, you can take, utilize, and pay on February 6. Pay on February 6. And suppose you earned some credit on February 2nd or 3rd or 4th. That credit you carry forward for the next month, but not for the payment of January because February earnings cannot be used for January payments. Similarly, September's earnings cannot be used for payment of August liability. So remember, that is called advance utilization, not allowed. But the existing credit balance can be utilized to pay past arrears. If you have any arrear or under a show cause notice, you are liable to pay some amount past last year, before last year, or 3 years ago. Some amount is there. Now you have to pay. If you have same credit balance, use it because there is a circular to that extent from the department. Look at that. And similarly, NCCD and mobiles. Come to this. Advanced utilization not allowed. This is point number 1. Next, certain units to follow one-to-one correlation principle. Under Rule 3.4, Proviso 2, you find certain units which are enjoying area-based exemption. Say, where are they located? Number one, Northeast regions, state of Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram and Nagaland. And state of Sikkim also. It is not treated as a Northeast region. It is separate. So state of Sikkim and state of Jammu and Kashmir and also Kutch district of Gujarat, which was very much affected by earthquake in Gujarat. So units located in these locations, they get some benefit that is called location-based exemption or area-based exemption. So for that we have to refer to Rule 12. So those units enjoying area-based exemption under Rule 12, they have to follow one-to-one correlation. What do you mean by one-to-one correlation? See, input A you use it for making output B. So first of all, you have to use the credit of A for B only, not for any other product. So that is called one-to-one correlation. For example, plastic you have used plastic and you have made plastic furniture. And the same plastic, the credit on plastic should be used to pay duty on plastic furniture only, no other product. That is called one-to-one correlation. So these units have to follow one-to-one correlation principle. But others, they need not. This is a limitation for these units because these are enjoying area-based exemption. Next, health cess. Health cess paid under Section 85 of Finance Act 2005. This is on tobacco products, pan masala, etc. And whatever credit is available on health cess, you can use to pay health cess only. And if you don't have to pay, you carry it forward. And at the same time, if health cess is payable and health cess credit is not available, then you have to pay that in cash only. That is what it means. Health cess cannot be paid from any duty or tax except from health cess itself or pay in cash. That is through net. NCCD and mobiles. NCCD and other products it is okay, but on mobiles it is not okay. On mobiles, you should necessarily use NCCD credit balance if any, or you pay in cash. And that can also not be met from any duty or tax except NCCD credit balance itself. And again, service provider. Service provider is not eligible to take credit on special CBD. Obviously, he cannot utilize. And then clean energy cess. I've already told you, cannot be paid from any duty or tax. It should be paid in cash only. And there are other products also. Say, for example, Cenvat Credit cannot be utilized for payment of 2% or 1% as the case may be. There are about 130 products under notification 1/2011. Earlier, they were totally exempt. Now, they have been made dutiable at 2%, but still they are under the definition of exempted goods. If you look at the definition of exempted goods under Rule 2D, these definitions are also very important. Rule 2D, definition of exempted goods. Rule 2E, definition of exempted services. You have to be very careful as far as Cenvat Credit Scheme is concerned. So, if you look at Rule 2D of Cenvat Credit Rules, it is these products are exempted goods. So, because they are exempted goods, even though you are paying a small amount, say 1% or 2% as the case may be, you cannot take credit on their corresponding inputs. Input level credit not possible. Rule 3.1 puts a restriction. You can't take credit. For example, candle, crayons, pencils. So many items are there here. So to manufacture crayons, maybe you have used some inputs and paid excise duty. Maybe you have used services, but you are not eligible to take credit on inputs. And on crayons and pencils, once you manufacture, you are paying duty. These are exempted goods by definition, but you are still paying some, say 2% on them. So to pay the 2% on these pencils and crayons, you do not have the corresponding credit as per Rule 6.1 because these are exempted goods. But at the same time, can you draw the credit of other inputs or input services? No. Then the net effect is, the result is to pay duty on these goods under these two notifications, 1 by 2011 and 12 by 2012. That's what 12 by 2012 is on coal and fertilizers. We have to pay in cash. This 1% and 2% you have to pay in cash only, and no Cenvat credit is possible from anything whatsoever. And similarly, last but not least, a service provider paying under reverse charge is not allowed to utilize the Cenvat credit to pay input service tax on input services, because input service tax credit can be used only to pay service tax on output services. Because of that reason, this is not possible. So this is utilization principle. Okay, and this is the topic. In fact, I have been given to talk about. Maybe you have taken 30 minutes. How much time you have taken? So 30 minutes or 20, 25 minutes, whatever it is. And this is time for me to entertain your queries, all queries, and also anything else. So there is a question. Very good. You started keeping questions. And what is the position on Cenvat of Swachh Bharat cess? There is a question on position on Cenvat of Swachh Bharat cess. The Swachh Bharat cess, government actually planned to collect up to say 2% on the value. Very heavy. It is like a tax. Normally cess is collected on taxes, tax on tax. But here, Swachh Bharat cess is tax on the value. But recently, on November 15 last year, the government introduced 0.5%, 0.5% on service tax portion, on service tax value, not on excise. So, Swachh Bharat cess is not payable on excise duty. It is like a surcharge. It is an addition. It is something addition, but it is calculated on the value. But in service tax, it is calculated on the value of service. Suppose right now, the service tax rate applicable as per section 66B, it is 14%. But Swachh Bharat cess is also payable additionally, and this is 0.5%, and put together it is 14.5%. But this 14% can be met out of Cenvat credit balance, if any. If you have any Cenvat credit balance, you can use it and pay. But what about this 0.5% Swachh Bharat cess? This can be paid only in cash, not by using any Cenvat credit. So you have to pay in cash, and you are not eligible to take Cenvat credit also. But for calculation purpose, you have to show it separately. 14% plus Swachh Bharat cess 0.5%. That like that you have to show separately, because its account head will be naturally different. Okay, and any other queries you feel like asking, you are welcome. I have got this question and I am answering this question. Any other questions you can ask, or you can ask me to discuss any topic concerned with. Okay, you can submit your queries. If you are already online, you can put your queries, and immediately you will get answers. The best of this program would be when you put more and more queries, and when we are answering these queries. Okay, then before I get the questions, I want to utilize the time further. That is amendments applicable for May 2016 examination. There are plenty of amendments, because I cannot go in detail, because I will have another session to discuss this on webinar, because amendments are the lifeline of tax laws. You know, it is like a lifeblood of tax laws, because tax laws are changing every day, day by day. Particularly, the trouble with indirect taxes is twice a year one has to update. For example, somebody is not able to clear in one attempt, say in a particular attempt, say November. So for the May examination, he has to collect amendments again. But as far as direct taxes are concerned, he will collect all amendments in one go, and they are available, they are applicable for the full year because assessment year. So that is year-wise assessment. But here in indirect taxes, there is nothing like periodical assessment. That's the reason why every 6 months updation is necessary. So for May 2016 examinations, what is relevant and what is applicable? The Finance Act changes made in Finance Act 2015. Changes made in Finance Act means Finance Act 1994 means finance sections given in Finance Act. Say section 64 to 64 all sections. Say up to 94 or so. All sections, wherever there is an amendment that you have to go through, you have to look into. Okay. And one more thing is, there are some questions. Before I go for answering the questions, let me complete this part. And Finance Act, particularly in service tax, if you see, the section 76 and section 76 earlier said there were amendments in section 75 with regard to interest rates. Now section 76 has been redrafted. Section 78 also. So normal cases penalty and fraud cases penalty. And they have simplified also the penal provisions. You please go through necessarily, very, very important. And of course, when I discuss the amendments separately, I will discuss them elaborately. Right now, that is the thing that we have to take care of. It's a very important area under Finance Act. And other changes are also there, definition of service. Section 65B, 44. Under that, there is an explanation too, in which they have changed. They have expanded the definition there. The explanation part of the definition, whereby they incorporated lottery activities relating to lottery tickets, sale, marketing, etc., and also chit fund activity. These two activities are considered to be service, and they are not considered the part of transaction is money or actionable claim. They are not treated as such. As such, they are taxable. The definition part very important, and negative list obviously very, very important. Section 66D, and therein one clause J relating to events and amusements taken away. It is no longer under the negative list. Obviously, it is a taxable service now. But in mega exemption, they have made some amendments, some makeup. In special cases, say, look at notification number, entry number 45, 46, and 47. And also look at entry number 16. Entry number 16 in mega exemption list, entry number 45, 46, and 47. So they provide a mega exemption as a compensation for removing the events and amusements related activity. So this you have to make sure that you are thorough with this. And in other areas also there is an amendment, major amendment being, job work, mega exemption. Entry number 30, clause C. Now, alcohol for human consumption. If you are a job worker doing some intermediate process relating to alcohol for human consumption, now it is taxable. Earlier it was not. And correspondingly, if you look at Section 66D of Finance Act, this manufacture is covered under clause F. But now, manufacture or production of alcohol for human consumption, potable liquor you can say, that is taxable now. Earlier it was not so. So like this, some major amendments are which you have to take care of, and Cenvat Credit also there are amendments. And in service tax and also central excise rules 2002. So registration is mandatory now. Registration is made mandatory. Online. Earlier, in physical format also, on hard copy also, you were able to submit. Now you have to submit online only. Registration will be just in 2 working days, online only. These things are there. So not much time I want to spend on online on these amendments, but let me look at the queries. Say, for example, what is cascading effect? Simple question. There is a question. What is cascading effect? Cascading effect means effect of tax on tax. Suppose input suffered some tax. Okay. Some inputs suffered some tax. And again, the same input should not suffer tax when it is converted into final product. So total tax on final product minus tax on input. That is a case of tax on value addition. So when you are collecting tax only on value addition, there is no cascading effect. But if you collect tax on gross value, of course, that is a lengthy thing. We should also use the board. Right now, it's not possible. So when the taxation system is a tax on, say, gross value, then there is a cascading effect. There is a tax on tax. And under value added taxation scheme, there is no cascading effect. Okay, cascading effect means tax on tax. But the Cenvat Credit scheme enables, it's a tool enabling the taxpayer to remove cascading effect while paying tax. He doesn't have to pay tax on tax. The Cenvat Credit scheme is really removing, not altogether, to a large extent. Even VAT under sales tax, that is removing cascading effect. Okay, and then how Cenvat Credit is availed. So for availment of Cenvat Credit, you have to look into Rule 4. On inputs, you take immediately when you bring inputs in the factory or premises of the service provider, and also capital goods. But for service provider, there is a relaxation. What is the relaxation? He can take inputs and capital goods straight away to the work spot. Still, he is eligible to take credit. He need not bring them in his office or premises. But for a manufacturer, he has to bring them in his premises or factory. But now there is the relaxation. He can instruct the supplier to send inputs and capital goods directly to his job worker. Still, he is eligible to take credit. And particularly, if you look at the definition of capital goods, Rule 2A, he can also avail Cenvat Credit on capital goods which are not brought to the factory but taken to the work spot where captive power plant is located outside, provided that the power is used captively in the factory. And as far as service tax is concerned, service tax Rule 47, and you can take credit on service tax only if, when you receive invoice. Based on the invoice, you can take credit. But if you are paying under reverse charge, you can take Cenvat Credit only when you pay. Until and unless you pay, you can't. And further details are there, you go through. So credit, that is one part. And there is one more question. This question is depreciation and Cenvat both on capital goods. Depreciation and Cenvat both on capital goods. So sorry. See, there is a provision under income tax also. Look at, you cannot take depreciation and also say Cenvat Credit. I think it is Rule 4 sub Rule 4. Either you take Cenvat Credit on capital goods as per the Cenvat Credit scheme by following the principles given under Rule 4, Rule 4.2 precisely, and of course for 3.4, 4.3.4.4, or don't take Cenvat Credit, but you apply Section 32 of the Income Tax Act and you avail same depreciation as per the provisions under Income Tax Act. But you can't have both. You cannot have a cake and eat it too. Either you eat the cake or you have it, don't eat. Okay. And another question is, there is a question, what will be the position of Cenvat in GST? हवा में तीर चला रहे in Hindi. हवा में तीर का मतलब, say you are throwing arrow in the air, unguided. We don't know whether it is going there, where it is going to hit. Is it hitting or not? So GST, say, since 2005, we have been hearing about GST. And this is 2016, almost 11 years. How elapsed? So far, nothing about it. But anyway, hypothetical question. You have asked a hypothetical question. Let me give you a hypothetical answer because I don't want to disappoint you. What will be the position of Cenvat Credit in GST? That is different. So, if I can use, I would like to use and I would like to write and show that. So let me go to the mechanism of using. What is GST? First of all, let us see. Let me, please give me a minute. I would like to use the screen and write something. GST, Goods and Service Tax Act, is Goods and Service Tax is a tax on supply of goods and services, or goods or services. Okay. Suppose it is like this. So getting ready. Suppose you are a manufacturer. Okay. You are a manufacturer. Or you are a service provider. Or you are both. It makes no difference. At present, the manufacturer is paying excise duty. Service provider is paying service tax, right? So here, the manufacturer is paying excise duty on the taxable event of manufacture. But of course, at the time of removal. But service provider is paying service tax on the taxable event of service provided or to be provided. Okay. But here in GST, what is happening in GST? This is a combination of goods and services. And under the existing system, local sales tax is there. Suppose there is a sale, there is either CST or VAT. Local sale is VAT or interstate sale is CST. Now all the three are combined. Sale is irrelevant now. Under GST, not now, under GST in future, when it comes, sale is irrelevant, your manufacture is irrelevant, your service is irrelevant. All the three are irrelevant. Then what is relevant? Supply. The taxable event or event is simply supply. Supply of goods or services or combination of both. Goods and or services. Whether you supply goods or whether you supply services, it makes no difference. Or you supply both, makes no difference. You pay at the time of supply. Of course, parameters they will give you. GST. So pen. GST, goods and service tax you have to pay. Okay. So how? Suppose it is a local sale within the state. Say supply is there, local supply, I call it supply, you should not call it sale. There is a supply within the state, say Delhi to Delhi only. So because local activity is involved, state GST is payable, obviously, and central GST automatically payable because the entire country is the center. Central GST and state GST both are payable. No sales tax, no excise duty, no service tax, nothing. Only these two you have to pay. Okay. Suppose it is an interstate sale, interstate supply. I don't call it sale. The supply is between two states. So here you have to pay integrated GST alone. Only integrated GST. Only two activities. Either it is a local supply or outside the state supply. So here GST you are paying. Let me take another page. Now suppose you are paying what about the Cenvat credit position? So whether you call it Cenvat credit or GST credit, the lawmakers may give any name, but technically speaking, it is input tax credit only. Okay. So you are paying what is known as, so you are paying GST, integrated GST. Okay. So payable integrated GST, because there is a supply interstate. Pay this, you can utilize credit, or you can say input tax credit or Cenvat credit paid on state GST. State GST. Suppose this credit is available, you can use it. And also central GST. Credit on state GST and central GST you can utilize to pay integrated GST. Right? And similarly, if you have any integrated GST available, there is nothing wrong. Nobody is stopping you to use it. But at the same time, suppose you are paying state GST, say state GST. To pay state GST, only state GST is available. To pay central GST, only central GST is possible. You can use here. But at the same time, integrated GST, if it is available as credit, this can be used here and this can be used here also. For both you can use. But SGST only for SGST, CGST for only for CGST, IGST for both. To pay IGST is available, SGST is available, CGST is available. So looking complicated, looking technical, don't put your brain here. Let us cross the bridge when we come to it. Anyway, you have asked a question, so I have answered this. But this is also hypothetical. This is not final. Tomorrow they may change. They may say something more, something different. So this is hypothetical. But GST is basically a tax on goods and services. And then in the event of GST, when the GST is replaced by, GST replaces central excise, sales tax laws, and also service tax. They are subsumed. Okay. So any other questions, queries? We still have a lot of time. Currently answering, what will be the position of Cenvat in GST? Okay, done. So input service tax credit on the date of issue of check or realization of check. Input service tax credit, there is nothing like that. So we have to check up first. Input service tax credit, there are two cases. Case number one is, suppose you are paying under reverse charge. You are paying service tax under reverse charge. So you yourself are liable to pay. The day you pay, you will be getting credit. You will be getting credit the day that you pay. So other cases, the day you get the invoice in your hands, you need not even pay. You may have already received the service. Service was completed, and you did not pay anything. But see, the service provider is issuing you invoice, so he has to do it within 30 days or within 45 days, as the case may be. Obviously, under a statutory obligation, if you look at Rule 6 and of course Rule 4A also, you are receiving invoice, and the moment you receive invoice, you are eligible to take credit, no matter whether you have paid or not. Payment through check or payment in cash, date of payment, totally irrelevant. Read Rule 4 and particularly Rule 4.7. Okay. Of course, from the date of invoice, you have to take within 1 year. That is the time limit. Okay. So move to other question, if any. So I request you to put questions. If you have any queries, please welcome. You ask questions, ask the questions, and we have answers for your queries. Okay. If you don't have any queries, then we will call it a day. So thank you very much that you have spared some time for this and listening to carefully, attending sincerely. Let me wish you all the best for your examination, and whatever be the queries, for all your queries, we are ready to do. Support system is very much open. Whatever be the type of service you like to have from us, as far as our course is concerned, so we are ready to do. You are free to send a mail and free to call. Okay. So thank you once again. Thank you very, very, very much for your participation. Thank you. Back to studio.